Welcome to the Be Better podcast with Lee Barrison. True stories from Bakersfield's business owners and entrepreneurs. Lee is a local real estate broker that sold over 1,700 houses in almost 18 years. He is a husband, father, owner, and lead coach of Infinity Real Estate Services. And now it's time for the Be Better podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Lee Barrison with the Be Better podcast, and here we are. This is episode 14, and I'm really excited about you guys joining us on this podcast because, as you know, this podcast, for those of you that have subscribed, this podcast isn't to raise money or to earn money, but it's to provide massive value for anybody out there that's looking at, anybody out there that's an entrepreneur, anybody out there that has a business, anybody out there that's thinking about starting a business, it's my obligation to you guys in order for you to hopefully get some content that might strike a chord in your own life that might be able to benefit you and your business. And so, first off, we call this the Be Better podcast, guys, because we want you to be better in all areas of your life, including your health, your wealth, your spiritual life, being a better husband, being a better wife, being a better business person, being a better salesperson. For God's sake, whatever you want to be better in, we want to help you be better. And that's why we've named it the Be Better Podcast. So for anybody out there that has subscribed or made a comment, I want to say thank you. That does mean a lot. I've had a few people recently reach out to me and tell me what a great podcast this is. So that tells me that we are on the right track. We are doing something right, and we ain't going to quit until we get what we want. So with that being said, with no further ado, guys, I want to introduce the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Daron Nunn. Say hello, Daron.
Hello, people.
All right, so we're going to try this again. So, Daron, first off, the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is because you have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas in entrepreneurship and sales, and you're a great person overall. Right. And
yeah,
so
thank you, Lee.
Yeah. And so you and I, we basically met in about 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, maybe 13. I forget the year. But I met you through your beautiful wife, Cheryl, who's a great friend of mine. Daron actually has 2 kids, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I was telling his wife one day that I wanted to invent something. And it was basically it was a mirror that took photos, and you can upload your photos or videos to any social media network, right? Well, anyways, that didn't work out, but nevertheless, I did learn a little bit. But Daron, not knowing him, never meeting him, was kind enough to take the time to come into the office and basically just give me a little bit of coaching on, what to expect, and so on and so forth. And so, let's talk about this again, Daron. But, you mentioned that there's no bad ideas, right?
That's correct.
All right. So anybody out there that's thinking about inventing something and they're unsure of it, what type of advice would you give them about that if they're thinking about creating something?
Well, it's mainly the process, but you don't start with the process. You start with the idea, something in your mind, in your heart. You see a problem with an existing product, for example, and you look at it and you say, I can make this better, or I can solve an issue. And so that's how ideas, are kind of birthed. That's the reason why there's no bad ideas. But, obviously there's ideas that we've never seen. There's ideas that may never come to market, but for the time. But they're not bad ideas. For example, just really quick, it's funny, I talk about this a lot, about the Jetsons cartoon.
Okay.
And that's kind of dating myself, but I've seen a lot of, yeah. But the Jetsons way back then, I remember they had these little intercoms, and Mr. Jetson would go to work and he would talk to his wife, and you could see his wife on the other intercom. Back then, there were no cell phones, there were no computers, there was no anything, and so I always kind of refer to the Jetsons was a segue into this new technology that was coming before we even knew about cell phones.
Wow.
But we thought it was kind of neat. He'd go to work, put his feet up on the desk, and just push a button, and then talk to Jane. I think her name was Jane, and so it was an interesting concept. But now I look back at that. That was 15, 20 years before the first computer, and it was just awesome.
Wow, that's a crazy example. Yeah,
it really
no
is.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they used to put like something in the microwave.
Yes.
and it would create like
Yes.
a whole meal.
Yes, exactly. And we have
remember
now. Exactly.
And we have that now.
We have that now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, and you're right, man. Like, you know, what wasn't needed back then or not thought of
Exactly.
or how do you say it wasn't birthed
It wasn't birthed yet. Yeah.
It came to fruition,
Exactly.
and now it's here.
And now it's here.
Just like you said, the cell phone, you know, there's 7 billion cell phones floating around on the earth, right? But at one point in time, nobody in their right mind thought it was possible to ever have a cell phone where you could just like dial people in any part of the universe and you could actually talk to them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just an idea, you know. So one thing I would say to the people who have an idea, the number one thing I would say is to just believe in your idea, because there'll always be people to tell you and look at it, well, this doesn't work, you know, this is not going to work. And so my perspective on that is to never tell someone or give them my opinion. So I never give my opinions on anything. I will try and direct them in a way to go. But the idea didn't come from me. So if it was birthed out of someone else's heart, that has come from them. And hopefully I can come alongside of them and maybe assist them in directing them in the process now that's going to be needed in order to make it real.
Beautiful.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's you just hit it right on the head right there, you know. So, because there's a lot of people out there, I would imagine, Daron, being that you have invented things and patented items, you know, there is those naysayers out there that are going to tell you it's not going to work, and I'm sure you've had moments in your career where you've had limiting beliefs on, is this going to actually work?
Yes.
Because of what other people have told you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. In the beginning, people would tell me, but I learned very quickly to have my circle extremely small. So I would only share my inventions with, you know, my kids were my worst critics. Not that they were critics, but I love them. But they're honest with me. So they'd say, okay, Dad, you know, I don't like that line, or I don't like this line, or whatever, you know. And Cheryl was she just wanted it to work for me,
sure,
because it was a passion of mine. So because of that, you know, I was able to kind of just follow my heart and my dream. And you know, and you really only got to the naysaying position when you needed to have investors or things like that, or you wanted to share it just to get prototypes made, things like that, from a patent perspective, not so much as starting a business, but an item, you know, patent type of potential product.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So switching gears, Daron, you know, why don't you tell everybody out there how you first became an entrepreneur? Tell us that story.
Absolutely. Well, I really didn't know I was gonna, you know, be an entrepreneur. I didn't know about the entrepreneurial spirit that was in me. It hadn't been turned on yet until I actually went to the Philippines on a missions trip with Canyon Hills. My pastor at the time for Over Missions was Tim Smith. And bless he and his family. I mean, he's no longer with us now.
Sure.
But he actually, and someone paid for that trip for me because I couldn't afford to actually go.
What was the purpose of the trip?
The purpose was to go to missions in the Philippines to visit the different barangays that were there, the different people groups that were there, and to play basketball. And then at halftime we would minister and feed them.
Oh, wow.
And then we would continue, you know, with our games. And afterward we would exchange clothing. We'd give them all of our nice clothing and our Nike shoes and things like that. And they would just basically feed us from basically nothing. It was a life-changing for me. That's a whole nother podcast, if you will. But what switched on the entrepreneurial spirit was when I arrived there, we had about 12 to 13 uniforms that were made for all the different islands we were going to, and they were fantastic. But the people made them, so they were made from factories right there at the people's own hand. So I looked at that and I was like, wow, I wonder, this is not only a godly opportunity, but it's a business opportunity as well. And so I kind of saw that. And it's funny, when I returned back from the first time in 1999, I was asked by a middle school here if I could produce uniforms.
Really?
Yeah, and I had never produced uniforms before. And I said yes.
And now, did they bring it up, or were you just approached?
No, they brought it up to me.
Oh, wow. So that's like a sign right there.
That was it. And I was like, and so I said yes, I could. But I had never done one. So what that forced me to go back to where I had just come from and meet and talk to all the people. where does uniforms come from, who made them, what was the factory, and it just kind of started something. And once I was able to get the first uniforms made, and the school opened up the box and they were like, wow, these are nice, I was gone. That just excited me more than anything else in my life.
Wow.
And I've been doing it ever since. So ever since like 2000, been an entrepreneur.
Wow, brother. That's
yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So basically, that was a major sign. That was like I better act on this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't
Absolutely.
hunting for it or looking for it. It just
fell in my lap. Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice suit, by the way, that you got on today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yours is nice too. I like the
Thank
blue.
you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. So all right. So tell us more about the uniform. So you created these uniforms for this middle school here in Bakersfield,
Yes, in Bakersfield.
right?
Mhm.
And where did that take you next?
Well, that just kind of took me to actually producing and wanting to form a company around it, which actually didn't really go until like close to 2003. I had made, that was the first one. Then I made them a second one, I believe, in 2001. And subsequently, I had now been in the Philippines about 3 years in a row, all for the same mission. So it just increased.
Yeah.
And by that time now, I formed a company name, which was Monet, Monae.
Monet.
Yeah, Monet. Yep,
Okay.
that started all. And that actually means men of all nations are equal under God, is what it means. Monet.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and
All
so
right.
the Philippines kind of jump-started that. And it just became this business. I formed an LLC. Long story short, I started creating a brand around it now, in addition to uniforms, and then it just took off. And I think in Bakersfield, I had all but 3 high schools here wearing something that had Monet on it.
Interesting.
Whether it was a basketball uniform, soccer, or volleyball.
Okay.
Those were the big 3. And it just kind of just snowballed from there.
And then so snowballed from there. So you basically started reaching out and selling the products to other
Yes.
high schools in town, except 3.
Yes,
So
except
basically
3.
you cornered the market,
Yeah.
it sounds like. And then so what happened next after that?
Well, excuse me. Then I started reaching out into other platforms like events like South versus Bay, the best of the South, versus the best of the Bay Area. So I would go to, and you'd have teams coming in from all kind of states and stuff. So they would see that, even though it was the best of South versus Bay. So that took me now into Oregon. I went into Arizona, in Texas, Washington, New York. I had teams ordering uniforms from me from all over the place. It became really crazy. That was awesome, and that excited me so much. And then from that platform that was already established, I just said, let me now produce the brand. So I got into denim, footwear, fleece, all kinds of different things, and it just kind of opened up a new world. I went into the Valley Plaza Mall in the kiosk between Foot Locker and Finish Line, which are still there today.
Perfect location.
Yeah, perfect location.
Yeah.
And then and that's, we haven't talked about Zipway yet, so I'll let you bring that up.
Yep.
But that became a segue into a national contract with Foot Locker. So it just kind of snowballed into different things, and so it just started breathing on its own. And truly, I'd have to say it was just God-given. And I just followed what he told me. I mean, from the first 12 shirts I made that I gave away at a Promise Keepers meeting to the first sale of uniforms, past the middle school, because I really didn't charge them because it was a test.
Oh.
See what I mean? So
Yeah.
I kind of put my own money up,
Sure.
and just provide and say, well, yeah, buy them from me. I can do it, And they're going, okay, how am I going to pull this off?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But it worked for me, So it was a blessing. And then so there's a lot of pieces to this. And I don't know if we'll get to all of them today, but I will do my best to give you what you want and to hopefully help the people. So
I love it, Daron. Man, dude, you are amazing. So yeah, real quick, how many countries have you, since 1999, how many trips, how many countries have you visited since
Wow.
1999?
At least 8 to 9.
Okay.
8 to 9 countries. I was flying probably 3 to 4 times a year to different countries and forming relationships with manufacturers in those countries.
Okay.
Meeting military personnel. Biggest one was China, and still is for me.
Yeah.
I met all of the military personnel that control the borders of China. So they control the input, what comes in, and outbound. So that was amazing to meet them. And I have a liaison there that's just amazing. He's my foot guy. So, because I don't speak Mandarin.
Sure.
And that's the language of, of Chinese people. So I couldn't communicate, but I know a couple words. I know how to say the word, in order to eat
some food,
or drink something, and sleep. I can say those three. But that's what it was, and it was just, and still is. It's an amazing journey, culturally.
Yeah.
Meeting all the people. It's life. It changed my life. I mean, it changed my life. I was I'll say it this way. When the Michael Jordan shoes come out, I had to have all the colors.
Sure.
I had to have all the tracksuits. I had to have all of that stuff. I would drive to different cities to go get it. I didn't know I was shallow in that way, but I really was. But going over there and seeing the people with basically nothing and giving me everything.
Wow.
It changed my life. It changed me.
Yeah.
And I haven't been the same since then. It was very humbling for me.
Super humbling.
Yeah.
What
It's
an
awesome.
amazing story. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears, brother, because we could be here all day. But
That's what I'm saying. It's a lot.
Yeah. So your initial product that with the shirts,
Yes.
then you started branding yourself, and then you got the kiosk, and then you
Yes.
started moving, towards Texas and even New York and so on and so forth. This thing was snowballing. It was expanding, and then you decided to invent something which was called Zipway. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell everybody out there what Zipway is all about.
Zipway is actually a zipper concept, which now is past a concept. It's actually a live piece.
Sure.
But what happened was I actually bought a couple of button-up sweatpants.
Yeah.
And I have to say,
the kind that you can rip off.
Yeah, that you can rip off with
Yeah.
the buttons. And they were Adidas pants.
Yeah.
And bought them for my wife, and so we were, working out together, and she was doing, her not yoga, but what was it called then?
Pilates.
Yes, I guess you can call it that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and high profile aerobics is what she was doing.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So and so she'd wear them, and I washed them once. Just a quick story, and then one of the buttons came off, and I noticed that because I put them in the dryer, and we heard this clank
Sure.
around. Take it out, the button's off. I sew it back on because I'm the sewer in the family. 'Cause that's
Wow.
what I do,
Okay.
And so I sewed it back on, gave it back to her. Next week she washes them, button comes off on the other side. On the other side, and I'm saying to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I asked the question. I said, Cheryl, if you had this pair of pants that had stripes down the side that you could change out the color of your stripes to match your shoes, and one pair of pants, would you like that? She said, oh, that'd be awesome. I said, okay. And I came up with this zipper idea.
Okay.
It was a single zip to not only come out of the pants automatically, but to also change out the side stripes to any color. So, for example, if you bought a black pair of pants, you could change the stripes to your color, blue, green, brown, to match your shoes you were wearing with one pair of pants. And it didn't exist.
Oh.
And so after doing that, Cheryl was the main one. She said, I think that, I don't know if you'll get that zipper patent. I don't know if something might be out there. I said, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
So I hired a patent attorney, which was the process.
Yeah.
And I had my prototype drawings, and then he had an engineer actually draw them up for me. Sure enough, got the patent. Long story short, turned it into a company. I went to a show called the Magic Show in Vegas that they have every year.
Which is what? Just where you pitch products?
Yes, we have. Well, every single, the who's who of the apparel industry is there. And so if you know anything about the Magic Show, it's 3 levels. Every single, I mean, it's just packed
Huge.
with everybody from Italian, French, I mean, every country you can think, German companies, they're all there.
Wow. Okay.
Anybody with any apparel is there, and it's called the Magic Show. Well, I was there in between, at the time, Michael Jordan's booth and Fat Farm's booth.
Yeah.
And it was a white wall, and I took these pants that I had, which were prototypes at the time, but I had them made from the Philippines, and I would go, hey, and people would look, and I'd zip my pants off and throw them in the air. And then I'd get them, and then people are like looking at me, and I'd go, hey, and I'd throw the pants off, right? I had a humongous crowd around me. And that crowd was a partner of mine now. His name's Jackie Baker, who knew John Starks for the New York Knicks.
Ooh.
He called John Starks and said, John, there's this guy here with these pants that would be great for the NBA. He's throwing them up in the air, and he says, I'm watching them. He's zipping them off. They're coming off real time. No buttons or anything.
Yeah.
So
well, it takes forever to button all your buttons.
It takes forever. The zipper is easy. So John says, well, hey, get his number and let him know I'm going to call him. And I'm saying, so he comes up to me and approaches me. Hey, man, I'm Jackie Baker, and this is John Starks, and here's his number. And can I have your number? John wants to call you. I was like, John Starks. Okay, yeah, I know John. Played against Michael Jordan. He's the assassin kind of guy.
Were you thinking he's actually going to call me?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking that. But sure enough, a week later, he calls me and says, Hey, Daron, this is John Starks. Da 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay, John. Hey, what's going on, man? Nice to meet you. He said, hey, my guy Jackie told me about these pants, and I just want you to know, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to call my guy at Foot Locker, so just be on standby, and you may have to come to New York. And I had never been to New York.
But I will go
to New York, right? And so, again, I really had never flown, since the Philippines, since that Arizona.
Sure.
My first flight.
Yeah.
So he calls me. It's about 6 months later, and he calls me and said, hey, this was on a Thursday. He said, hey, can you be in New York on Tuesday? We're meeting with Foot Locker. I was like, what? He said, yeah, those pants, they want to see them because they're going to be replacing all of the Adidas pants.
Okay.
They're going to take all the Adidas pants because they're having problems with their buttons. I don't know if there was a recall, whatever, but I got to say it as it is. So I go in. The guy looks at the pant and says, hey, this is great. 15 minutes later, we have 720 doors. Foot Locker, Foot Action, Champs, Kids Foot Locker.
In 15 minutes.
In 15 minutes. That's what happened. 720 doors nationwide.
What went through your head?
How am I going to do this? I'm like, okay, it's a blessing, but
I didn't expect 720 doors.
I was grateful just to be there. And that's the thing, because I had already been humbled by the Philippines, so it had gotten me ready mentally, just to be humble. I didn't see this coming, and it happened like that.
So real quick, just in retrospect, how much time did it take? I mean, and how many hours would you say, and what were the trials along the way to get to that point right there?
Many. The first prototype that I got from the Philippines, it worked so good. I was in a restaurant. I got to tell you the story. I was in a restaurant, and I forgot I had those on, and they didn't have the holder clips at the time. So I stood up in the restaurant, and my pants kind of unzipped by themselves. They unzipped by themselves. And she was like, you got your pants halfway down, right? So I said, I got to go back to the drawing board. One of those things, right?
Yeah, okay.
So since the inception of the zipper, which actually happened in 2003, we went into Foot Locker in 2006. So that's a 3-year span there. It took that much time. So I was testing them, selling them with my basketball uniforms as the not breakaway pants, but the Zipway pants, and you could buy a shooting shirt with it. So you had an outfit.
Okay.
So you had a uniform, a shooting shirt, and the pants that worked, and it was fantastic. And a lot of high schools here had them. So that process, that all took about 3 years before I even got a chance to sit in front of Foot Locker.
Were there a lot of late nights, early mornings?
A lot of late nights. There was one sequence, I won't forget this. Cheryl talks about it now. I was up for 3 days in a row and didn't even know I was up.
Wow.
That's how much work.
That's how focused you were.
That's how focused. I think I ate twice, but the sun, and I noticed the sun was coming up, but it was 3 days.
Wow.
And I didn't feel anything. I was just on my computer just working and grinding and designing. So I had to learn design. I had to learn tech packing, stitching, the way it works together. It was so much I had to learn, and no one taught me any of that.
You had to learn
it was all on the fly. Yeah.
Wow, Daron, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
This is an amazing story, man. So
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So all right. So now let's move back to our original. Okay. So now here we are with John Starks. 15-minute conversation with Foot Locker, and basically within 15 minutes you pick up Foot Locker, you pick up
Foot Action,
Champs. Wow, okay.
Kids Foot Locker,
okay.
And then it moved to Model Sports, Dr. J's. Amazon. Still on Amazon now.
Right.
It just started snowballing.
Crazy. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. And to this day, how many NBA teams have endorsed your pants?
Well, we actually received an NBA license for that for that zipper and that product.
Yeah.
So it was sold into, and it was sold in all the arenas. So I think there were 28 teams. 28 teams had endorsed it and were selling the product. So every time you'd watch a game, whatever that team was, if it was Cleveland versus Timberwolves, for example. I don't know if they play each other, but if you're in Cleveland, once the game was over, you come down and you always exit out into their product store.
Yeah.
All the pants and everything was right there.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, in 28 arenas.
That is so amazing. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, so Daron, you have a beautiful family. You've got a wife, Cheryl, Darian, and
Demi.
And Demi.
And Demi.
Yeah, I saw Demi for the first time at a party over the holidays.
Oh, did you?
Can she cut a rug?
Yes, she can. She got, she's got a little bit of me in her, man.
Yeah. So, so tell me about their support with you and your crazy ideas.
Well, my wife calls me mad scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits. I do think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about myself. I didn't. I was the guy who was down in LA, doing. I did a TV show called The Different World, which most people will remember that. It came on after the Cosby Show. I was trying to do that kind of thing for myself.
Was that acting?
Yeah, acting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing that, and was also modeling and stuff at the time, and so. While I was working in San Joaquin, so I was
a surgical
tech. All right, I was pursuing acting and modeling, and I was the football coach and the baseball coach and the family and husband, and it was a lot. It became overwhelming though.
Yeah,
and
sure.
it just kind of broke down. That's a whole nother podcast as well.
God,
but yeah, it's been a journey. Just kind of sum it up without, and you can ask me again, whatever you like, whatever's going to help the people.
Sure.
And if I can impart some information and wisdom to them, pitfalls, things like that. So I'm willing to answer anything. Hopefully this is very transparent for them. Yeah. But the processes, the up all night, the grinding, the investment of my own money, skin in the game, and then friends and family investment. Those kind of things. I mean, some have been fantastic and some failed. Where I lost a couple of good friends because things didn't go as I planned them to go.
Right.
There's a lot of stories here.
Yeah.
But the outcome has been great. I wouldn't change anything, not one moment of good or bad, and it just kind of made me who I am now. And and the humility of starting a business, as being the founder of Infinity, it's a process, man.
Yeah, and I've learned that for the past 2 years. I was a single agent for 16 years, and I only had 4 jobs back then.
Right.
Show up, prospect, lead follow up, and go on appointments.
That's it.
But now I have probably 30 things that I'm responsible for, and I get what you're saying, because it's definitely a process, and there's been a lot of failure involved, but I tell you what, I wouldn't trade it for the world,
Absolutely.
What I mean? And like you said, I mean, you lost some friends along the way, but, I think God puts us in a place where we need to be, whether we lose friends or not. It's just part of your story, and it's just meant to be the way it is. So,
absolutely.
Give us an idea about the staff wrap. What is a staff wrap?
Okay. That all actually came to birth.
Who thought about that?
I did. Yeah,
crazy.
That's a whole nother idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'm gonna back up for a second and I'll take you right to that. So it started with Monet. Monet started everything. Out of Monet was birthed Zipway.
Okay.
Out of Zipway was birthed Staff Wrap, because part of Zipway, the zipper system, I created a patent for a hospital scrub that would allow you to zip out of the scrub, tops and bottoms, the only one that exists, without taking the scrub top over your head.
Because you're exposed to the hospital arena.
Yes, exactly.
You saw the problems with that. Okay, good.
Absolutely, and that actually happened to me. So that invention, because of that, was I put that scrub inside of Zipway, and we called it MediZip. Okay? So now Zipway now owns, like at the time, 4 patents and 2 companies, both of them LLCs. So MediZip, because of MediZip, we had this coming out party at Foot Locker, and all the big wigs were there. Okay, so it was in New York. It was just fantastic, and one little guy, a Japanese guy, was in the corner, And he pulls me to the side after I thank everybody, the CEOs, CFOs, and everyone for allowing Zipway to be part of the story of Foot Locker. He puts me to the side and says, "Hey, can you meet me at my office on 7th and Broadway in Times Square tomorrow?" Okay, yeah, sure. What time? And so we exchanged cards. Well, our office was on 7th and Broadway on the 13th floor of this, right in the middle of Times Square.
Wow.
So that's where Zipway was. It's now in Connecticut. But at the time, so it was right around the corner. And I didn't know about this company or anything. I won't say their name.
Okay.
They're a humongous Japanese company. They're worth about $150 billion now. The company, they own 15 companies. One of them was a silver company.
Okay.
So long story short.
The metal silver.
The metal silver,
yeah.
Absolutely. So I show up the next day. He lays out this portfolio. There's like 20 different metals there, silver metals, all in different formats, thicknesses, yarn, twills, wrapped, bunch of stuff. I didn't know what I was looking at. Long story short, he tells me, he says, "Hey, we are using this for the company Samsung right now. Samsung uses it for their workforce for static and odor. I didn't know that metal was that actually controlled static. So I got an education that day." I said, "Interesting." He says, "Based on what you told me last night at the Foot Locker, your party, I thought that it would be great for your MediZip brand, but you can't use our findings." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, check this out. This controls MRSA. It works on MRSA, which is the deadliest, bacteria."
Yeah, MRSA. Just to be clear, though, for anybody out there that doesn't know what MRSA is, it's a flesh-eating bacteria.
Absolutely.
And it's a nasty process as far as having to make it go away. From
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you need some very strong antibiotics. Strongest one is vancomycin, which only works about 14% of the time.
Okay.
That's a real fact. So you can find that out. I mean, that's public record. But that's what it would take in order to actually cure that. So you got 100 people, and it would be most effective on only 14. Okay, so but that's the strongest antibiotic until now. But this is not an antibiotic. So long story short, it's just basically kind of fast forwarding. I couldn't use their testing. So what I did is, once he showed it to me, I had now had to get my own process. So I had to go back to China. And we tried to make this silver using just their silver with cotton. And there's one more special ingredient, which I won't say.
Okay. All right.
But it's
the secret sauce.
Yeah, the secret sauce to it that makes it work.
Okay.
In a matter of 18 to 24 hours, the bacteria is dead. And so now your natural immune system can kick in, and that topical wound starts to heal. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow.
In 18 to 24 hours with no side effects.
Jeez
Okay?
Louise.
So it's crazy. But only one factory in the world made it the way we needed it to make, because the way we needed it made, because the weaving process, silver is a very volatile metal, so it would always break and snap. So when they tried to weave it, it would snap. So we tried 3 factories and narrowed down to 1, and they did it. The process was fantastic. So I had to get testing done, got all my testing done out of Utah and New Jersey. It comes back, this product is 99.998% effective in killing MRSA and killing acne. I mean, and that's all we basically tested on. And people have been using it now for scabies, impetigo, which is big. What's the skin one? I'm drawing a blank there.
Yeah, I know. We're
psoriasis.
Psoriasis. There you go. Yeah.
People are using it on that when they swell up. Takes it right down.
So it just really impacts a lot of exterior skin type situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I got a call. I was showing this around after the invention, and I know I'm missing some spots, but I don't want to take up all of your your podcast time. Yeah. But I must tell this story. I got a call from Sacramento. It was a 2-year-old baby in the hospital. And the only reason why the baby was there, he actually started off with diaper rash in between his legs, and it turned into MRSA.
Oh.
So they called me. The hospital didn't, but the people, the mother knew the nurses that I was showing this to. And they called them and said, "Can we get some of that product that Daron has invented?" I mean, the baby was miserable. Obviously, you can just
It's not
imagine.
FDA approved by this at this point, right?
Yes. Oh no. Well, it didn't need doesn't need FHA because nothing leaches from it. It's a whole nother story.
Okay.
So my silver doesn't leach. It's the way it's woven, which is fantastic. So I only had one long sample, and it was in the form of a MediZip scrub. Okay.
Okay.
I cut the scrub pants up into little bitty strips, and I sent them to the people so that they could wrap their baby's legs with it. 2 days later, they called me. The mother was crying and said, Daron, she's going home. There's nothing there. Wow. And I was like, okay. I was surprised, but I knew it worked because I'd already done the testing. And again, I'm missing some spots, but you're talking about 3 years of testing in that. So there was a process. Investment money spent, long hours, trips to China. I mean, all of it to get it to where it worked like that, right?
Yeah.
All starting from Japan. So after that, I said, okay, I got it. I'm going to take the McDonald's approach. You may say, well, what's the McDonald's approach?
Yeah,
I'll
let's
explain.
hear more about
okay,
that.
I'll explain it to you. McDonald's, to me, became famous for taking a hamburger and putting it in a box. That's the outside package, and they allow you to now. It's almost like receiving a gift
Because you have to unwrap it.
Because it's in a box.
Yeah.
And you open it up, and it's like, ooh, first one to do it. So you got McDonald's, and then you got the wrapper inside, and so. Notwithstanding how the burger tastes or whatever, it's just the fact that it was a genius idea of presentation.
It's the experience of the burger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I did is I said, okay, let's allow people to help themselves. The fact that I was able to cut it up in strips, let's present it in strips, not as a whole. Let's put it in 3 or 4 different sizes where people can actually go and get it and help themselves. So if you have a wound on your arm, we have an arm one. If you have a wound on your ankle, we have an ankle one. And it comes in little bitty boxes so you can help yourself. And it's all made, it's all sterile, it's all packed. Amazing product. And we've given away now about 1,200 boxes. And we have all of the anecdotal evidence from all the people and pictures galore. Like, wow, look at my before and look at my after. And it's just like, wow, what a blessing. Yeah, so you can ask. I'll stop right there.
Golly, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
I hope you guys are getting some out of this. This guy is amazing. So just ending with the staff wrap though. I mean, like where is it at now? You still you're still selling it? You're
okay. Well, in transparency, yes. Well, we're still selling some off the website on the staffwrap.com. However, I would like to tell them about the difficulties.
Of course, we want to hear about it.
Okay, so here's the difficult part. We know the product works. The industry now knows the product works. What I mean by that is all the pharmacies, the pharmaceutical companies, they all know the biggest ones. We've gone to Johnson & Johnson. We've gone to Pfizer. We've gone to Kaiser. We've gone to Life Cells. We've gone to, what's the other one? Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Kaiser, Life Cells. There's another one that we went to that's big. And my attorney says, don't go to any more pharmaceutical companies because the only thing they're trying to do is reverse engineer your product and see how they can bypass you. And he was right. So I've now taken the approach, or we did back then, we've given product away to UCLA Medical Center to use for all of their infection control division. We also gave product away to the whole Harvard wrestling team. They called us from a wrestling match, and all of their players got MRSA on their elbows and on their thighs.
Oh, wow.
So the mats were infected.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't see it.
Yeah.
They called us. We sent boxes for every player. Every single person was healed in 2 days.
Jeez, crazy.
See,
man.
you don't hear those stories.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to UCLA for a second. I know vancomycin. Vancomycin is a good antibiotic. And again, I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a pharmacist, so I can't sit here and say, nor am I an engineer.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can't sit here and say that something works or something doesn't work unless I personally used it, or unless it's public record. So I'll just go on record to say that, and that's just for my own protection, as it were.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
being honest. But I will say this: we gave UCLA 24 boxes to use for free. on all of their infection control people, and they had some there, whether they were the wound victims, amputee victims, whatever. And I go back 2 weeks later, expecting to meet with some of the doctors and surgeons, and the nurse pulls me to the side, the head nurse, and says, they didn't use one. I said, what do you mean they didn't use one? I said, well, and she put me to the side, and her name I won't mention, and she says, well, the company that produces vancomycin, they give them kickbacks. Oh. So they're using kickbacks on this, so why would they want to use this? And I said, well, because it works. What about the people? Yeah. But that's not the way it happens. So I just said, you know what? I am now getting the experience of all the bureaucratic red tape stuff you have to go through. Sure. And as you see right now, if you look out just commercials in here every day, we are just, it's so many commercials with appeal for everything. There's appeal for everything. And most of it is not natural. So the side effects are horrendous.
And you don't even know what they are.
You don't even know, right. I mean, it takes more on the commercial to describe the side
effects.
Than it does to tell you about what the pill actually does. Yeah. So you got a lot of that. And Staph Wrap is nothing like that. It's just cotton and silver. It's the way it's woven.
All natural?
It's all natural. There's nothing in it. There's no side effects in it, and it helps you tremendously. So that's an invention I'm actually proud of. We are trying to still move that into the retail segment and market so people can help themselves. But right now, staffwrap.com is where you'd go.
Beautiful, Daron. Wow. Yeah. Amazing stories, guys. Didn't expect this though, but I tell you what, he's a leader and he's definitely got a lot of ideas. So before we wrap this up, Daron, why don't you pour some value into some of these people about being a business owner, being how old are you now?
I will be 53 this year.
Oh, wow. Okay, good. So you don't look 53, so congratulations.
Yeah, that's a blessing too.
Yeah, so you're 53, but you've been around, you've done a lot of work. You know what I mean? So why don't, if anybody out there is thinking about opening up a business or creating an invention or whatever it is, why don't you give some people out there some sound advice?
Absolutely. Well, I would say, first of all, is stay true to your passions. Passion alone, obviously, won't get the job done, but it is the foundation of it. And the passion doesn't involve money, and that's the key. So anything that you're going to open or invent, if your passion is behind it, people will get behind it. It'll draw that. If you're doing it for the money only, and you think, well, I'm just going to be rich and invent this, it never works that way, because your process, you're going to miss a lot of the process, which is the hard work of it all. I hate to say this word, but it's true. The grinding, which Yeah. And the grinding of it, so it looks like grinding, but if you're doing it from a passion platform, it's not. It's not even work.
It's like fun. It's like a game.
It's fun. There you go. It's like a game.
Yeah.
And now you're getting paid to play your own game.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I would give is whatever you're passionate about, use that passion. That's the fuel that you put all your blocks on, because that's your foundation.
Right.
Is your passion. If you don't have the passion, then you're going to fizzle out, because it's not easy. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. It's not. And your circle, second, is your circle. I got to say it to you like this, and this would be another podcast as well.
I know where you're going.
If he invites me back. Yeah. One of my good friends is Famous Amos.
Oh, wow.
Famous Amos Cookies. He lives in Hawaii. I called him after I met him, and he gave me some sound advice. I said, Mr. Amos, I'm in a little trouble, okay? I need to go to step B, but I can't do it by myself. I don't have the financial power to do it. I don't have the resources. So he says, Daron, let me ask you 2 questions, and this will help them. He says, can you do this by yourself? I said, no. He says, do you have the financial, whereabouts or resources to get to step B? I said, no. He says, well, you've now answered 80% of your question. My question was, I don't want to go below 51%. I don't want to go below 51% because I could lose my company that way.
Right.
He said, well,
you lose control. Yeah.
You lose control. He said, well, can you do it? So then I'll tell you, he told me ways to do it, to still maintain my ownership. And he pointed me to some people that actually ended up helping me, and it worked beautifully. But what I'm saying is this: there's a process that happens. So and I can't tell you what those processes are because everybody has a different one.
Sure.
Like, I mean, it was different for you than it was for me.
Right.
So I can't do what you did and try and make that work for me. So let me just follow what Lee did. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's why your passion is your platform. And then it builds on that. Where to go, what to do, who to meet. And we're talking about God here as well because none of this happens without him.
No.
So
it starts with him.
There you go. It starts with him. So now we're sitting here together, but we met 2011 or 12, and now there's something that's one of my blocks now, and I've gained a friend.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't come from the entrepreneurial background where you could ask the question, what about what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And I gave you, hopefully at the time I gave you passion.
Yeah.
Not what I thought, not, well, you can make $1 billion, you can be a billionaire.
Yeah.
If those things happen, it's a blessing.
Actually, you didn't say a whole lot.
I
You
didn't
just
say
kind
a
of
lot.
nodded your head.
Yeah.
And looks good. And
exactly.
Let me introduce you to this guy.
Yes, and point you to a step B.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to the people. It's just follow your passions, follow your hearts, because it's in your heart. It didn't come from me. It didn't come from Lee. So if you want to open up a chain of stores, start with the one. Use your passion, build on that.
Replicate it.
There you go. It'll take you to step B, step C, step D.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Beautiful. Now, when you said circle, though, I thought you were going to say your circle gets smaller over time.
Oh, well, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
But there's so many things in my brain, I just threw out Famous Amos because he was very pivotal in my decision making. Mm-hmm. But your circle does get smaller in time. My circle is extremely small.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't start that way, but it's really small. There's probably 2 or 3 people that I allow to even speak into my life.
Yeah.
That's not prideful. That's because I trust them. And I don't ever want to be at the top of the food chain. I want somebody in my circle that knows more than me, that has more than me. So I'm always aspiring to go up.
Yes.
If I'm at the top, then the people that are below me, and I don't mean that as a default, but they're not the business owner.
Sure.
For example.
Yeah.
So the people that are there, they can't tell me anything. I can't grow from them from a business perspective. I want people that have done it. Okay. For example, like you, I grow from you. So, okay, Lee, because I can see what you've done. I know a little bit of your story. I know where you come from. So I can say, Lee, okay, no, really though, but check this out. Okay. Here's a man who's doing it, doesn't have much debt, doesn't have much overhead. Okay. How did that happen? Because most people get into a business and there's a lot of debt and there's a lot of overhead. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. How does he do it? That's the person I want to say, okay, how do you do it? Well, it may be something as simple as drinking 2 Starbucks a week instead of drinking 9.
That's big savings there.
Do you see my point?
Boy, yeah,
it's little stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
I bring my lunch to work every day.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, but here's the thing, you don't have to.
No.
You see, because you could afford to eat out.
We have a restaurant right down below.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I would come to a guy like Lee and not the guy who's eating out all the time. It's like, well, man, you got this money, but how are you eating out steaks every day? No, I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your humbleness?
Yeah.
How are you humble and still doing it? And it's God driven.
I agree. And I put a post together this weekend about because you were talking about if you do it for the money, you're going to burn, basically. But
yeah.
if you do it for the money and not act out of being a servant to others, and which is my passion.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I love being a servant. I love
Me too.
seeing people grow. I love being a part of that growth. The money is just the byproduct.
Exactly.
And again, I think that so many people are a slave to chasing money nowadays.
Yes.
That it consumes them.
Yes.
Because they see it everywhere. You go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, you go anywhere you go, you see all these get rich quick schemes.
Yes.
And
that's what they are too.
Yeah, no need to pick up the phone and dial. Here's a system where they all come to you.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It requires hard work, passion.
Passion.
But more importantly, if you never, ever, ever focus on the money, but more importantly, if you just do it out of the genuinity of your own heart, hoping for the best and being a servant for anybody and everybody out there that wants that, then the money becomes a byproduct, number one. But number two, it's like something where you don't need to rely on going into debt. It's like it won't allow you to go into debt because you're doing the right thing all the time.
Yes.
And that's something that I've learned over time. I know, at one point in time, I had a pretty big ego because I was doing pretty well for myself as a single agent. But what I've learned becoming a broker, Daron, is it's no longer about me.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that comes with age or whatever, but I don't need a whole lot of money.
Right.
I just need enough money to pay the bills.
Right.
But I want to see other people learn from me, and I want to be a servant to where one day they can maybe be in my shoes where I was 14 in my 14th year or whatever.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. That's good stuff. And I mean, to wrap it up, as far as what I would say is, it's what you just said without saying it. It's all about the people.
Yes.
Every single invention I've ever invented was not for me. It was about people. And the zippers is people, ease of operation. Staff wrap, healing. People.
Yeah.
Monet, I mean, men of all nations are equal. Build self-esteem, character. That's ultimately what it's all about. And that's why the passion has to be there, because the passion will keep you grounded to serve the people, which you mentioned most of the time is serving. Because, and again, you're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to fall down at times, but you just keep standing back up. And if you can stand back up and you can keep your focus and the passion of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, it makes it now it's not even work. Yeah. It's part of your destiny.
Sure.
I can say it like that.
No, and I agree with you. I mean, coming to work I don't call this work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a game.
It's a game. There you go.
And I show up to play the game every day because it's just fun to me.
It's fun.
You know what I mean? So I appreciate that, dude. Yeah. Thank you so much, Daron, for joining me.
You're the man, Lee.
That was a wonderful story. I hope everybody out there enjoyed that. Again, this is Daron Nunn. And Daron, before we close, real quick, let's give you a quick plug. Daron has now recently switched gears from modeling and being a surgical tech and an entrepreneur and an inventor and whatever else. He now is a salesperson, guys.
Yes.
At Infinity car at the dealership, right on at the Auto Mall, and he blessed me and my wife this weekend to test drive the new Q80. It's the big one, and it was a beautiful vehicle. And if you guys are looking for somebody to sell you a vehicle with this type of humbleness, with this type of personality, not a salesman, guys, by any means, just a humble heart that just wants the best for everybody out there, look Daron Nunn up. And how do they get a hold of you? If they want to test drive a vehicle, if they want to know more about the vehicles or the deals, zero down, guys. Zero interest for 72 months.
For 72 months.
I'm doing your job here. 72 months interest free for the Q80, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
How do they get a hold of you?
They can call me at 661-599-7702. Or you can call Infinity of Bakersfield and ask for Daron Nunn, and they will say, Daron, call holding on line 1 or line 2.
There you go.
It's pretty easy.
That's super, man. Well, thank you, Daron, again for joining us on this podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Today is episode number 14 again. Make it a powerful week, and because today is Monday, and there's no better day than today. It's a brand new week. It's a brand new day, and there's no better day than today to get started. So with that being said, peace.
Amen.